Deep in the heart of the Whispering Woods, a group of friends set up camp, eager for a weekend of adventure. The air was crisp, carrying the earthy scent of pine and the promise of mysterious tales. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the forest transformed, shadows stretching long and dark, weaving a tapestry of unknown secrets among the trees. Gathered around the crackling campfire, their faces flickered with excitement and a hint of apprehension. The flames danced wildly, casting eerie patterns on their surroundings, as if the forest itself was alive and watching. One of the friends, Alex, leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Have you ever heard of the Whispering Woman?" he asked, his eyes glinting with mischief. The group leaned closer, curiosity piqued. Alex continued, spinning a tale of a ghostly figure said to roam these woods, her voice a haunting melody that lured campers away from their safe havens. She was a spectral figure clad in white, her feet never touching the ground, gliding silently through the night. Legend had it that those who heard her whispers were never seen again. As the fire crackled and popped, a sudden rustling came from the dense underbrush. The friends froze, exchanging nervous glances, hearts pounding in unison. Was it just the wind, or something more sinister? The forest seemed to hold its breath, the silence stretching taut around them. Then the faintest of whispers drifted through the camp, barely audible but chilling in its clarity. It was a melody, soft and ethereal, weaving through the trees like a ghostly lullaby. The friends felt an inexplicable pull, an urge to follow the sound deeper into the woods. Yet fear rooted them to the spot, their instincts screaming to stay by the fire. As the night wore on, the whispers grew louder, more insistent, each note a siren call that clawed at their resolve. The forest seemed to close in, the trees becoming looming sentinels guarding ancient secrets. The friends huddled closer, the fire their only beacon against the encroaching darkness. With dawn's arrival, the whispers faded, leaving only the rustling of leaves and the calls of distant birds. The friends emerged from their huddle, relief washing over them like a warm tide. They had resisted the lure of the Whispering Woman, her call now a fading memory carried away by the morning breeze. Though the legend of the Whispering Woman would linger in their minds, the forest had returned to its daytime tranquility, the sun filtering through the canopy in gentle beams. The friends packed up their camp, their laughter echoing through the trees, grateful for the light of day and the safety it promised. Yet, as they left the woods behind, a soft, melodic whisper followed them, a reminder that the forest was never truly silent, and some secrets were best left undisturbed. The old Victorian house stood at the end of Mulberry Street, shrouded in mystery and the whispers of those who dared to pass by. Its windows were like hollow eyes, watching the world with a silent promise of secrets untold. It was the perfect setting for a sleepover, or so the four friends had convinced themselves. As the clock struck midnight, they gathered in the dusty parlor, the dim candlelight casting flickering shadows that danced along the faded wallpaper. They sat in a circle, the air thick with anticipation and a touch of trepidation. Each of them held a flashlight, their only weapon against the encroaching darkness. "Let's tell ghost stories," suggested Lily, her voice tinged with excitement and a hint of fear. The others nodded, eager to embrace the thrill of the unknown. Josh began, spinning a tale about the lady in white who roamed the halls, searching for her lost love. His voice was deep and theatrical, weaving a tapestry of suspense that held them all captive. As he spoke, the wind howled outside, rattling the windows as if the house itself was alive and listening. Next was Mia, who recounted the legend of the cursed mirror in the upstairs bedroom. They all shivered as she described how the mirror would show glimpses of the future, but only the darkest possibilities. She swore she felt eyes watching her every time she looked into it, and the others exchanged nervous glances, wondering if they dared to venture upstairs to see for themselves. As the stories continued, the atmosphere grew heavier, the shadows deeper. The candle flickered, its flame struggling against an unseen force. A cold draft swept through the room, and they huddled closer together, their hearts beating in unison with the creaks and groans of the old house. Finally, it was Emily's turn. She hesitated, her eyes wide with an idea that seemed to take hold of her. "Let's play a game," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the wind. "The game of mirrors." The others leaned in, curiosity piqued. Emily explained the rules. They would each take turns standing in front of the mirror, asking it to reveal a secret. It was a game of courage, an invitation to the unknown. One by one, they approached the mirror, their reflections staring back at them with an unsettling clarity. Lily went first, her hands trembling as she whispered her question. The mirror remained silent, but the room seemed to grow colder, as if the air itself held its breath. Josh was next, his bravado fading as he stood before the glass. He asked his question, and for a moment, nothing happened. Then, just as he turned away, he swore he saw something move behind him, a shadow that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Mia approached with caution, her eyes locked onto her own reflection. The candle flickered again, casting her face in an eerie light. She asked her question, but the silence that followed was deafening, pressing against her ears until she could take it no longer. Finally, it was Emily's turn. She stood before the mirror, her gaze unwavering. As she spoke, the candle's flame extinguished, plunging the room into darkness. Panic gripped them all, but before anyone could react, the mirror began to glow with an ethereal light. In the glass, they saw not their own reflections, but the vision of the lady in white, her eyes filled with sorrow. She reached out, her hand pressing against the surface as if trying to break free. A chill swept through the room, and the friends stumbled back, hearts racing with terror. The light faded, leaving only the sound of their ragged breaths and the quiet creaks of the old house. They knew then that they had awakened something ancient and restless, a spirit bound to the house by the weight of its own tragedy. Huddled together, they vowed never to speak of what they had seen, to let the secrets of the house remain buried in the past. As the first light of dawn crept through the windows, they gathered their things and left, the echoes of their laughter and fear lingering in the halls long after they had gone. In the heart of the majestic Rocky Mountains, a group of close-knit friends embarked on a long-anticipated hiking vacation. The air was crisp, the sky a brilliant shade of blue, and the trails promised adventure at every turn. Among the group was Ella, an avid nature lover with a knack for spotting wildlife and a talent for photography. As they set off, spirits were high and laughter echoed through the trees. The first days were filled with awe-inspiring vistas and the thrill of discovery. They trekked through dense forests, crossed babbling brooks, and camped under a canopy of stars. Ella was in her element, capturing the breathtaking beauty of their surroundings and sharing stories around the campfire. However, on the third day, as dawn painted the sky in hues of pink and orange, an unsettling realization dawned on the group. Ella was missing. Her tent stood empty, her backpack untouched. Panic rippled through the camp as they called her name, their voices swallowed by the vast wilderness. The friends quickly organized a search, retracing their steps along the rugged trails. Each moment stretched endlessly, the minutes feeling like hours. The forest, once a place of wonder, now seemed ominous and unyielding. They scoured every nook and cranny, driven by a mix of fear and hope. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows over the landscape, a shout broke the tense silence. One of the friends had stumbled upon a small clearing where Ella lay on the ground, conscious but disoriented. Relief washed over them as they rushed to her side, overwhelmed with gratitude. Ella recounted her ordeal, explaining how she had wandered off the path, entranced by a flock of birds. She had lost track of time and direction, eventually finding herself lost as dusk settled in. Despite the growing fear, she had remained calm, using her survival skills to stay safe until help arrived. The experience left the group shaken, but profoundly appreciative of their bond and the power of nature. As they made their way back to civilization, the mountains seemed to stand as silent witnesses to their story, a tale of adventure, friendship, and the indomitable spirit of those who dare to explore the unknown. In the heart of summer, when the days stretched long and the evenings whispered secrets, the small town of Maplewood buzzed with the laughter of children freed from school. The cicadas sang their relentless tune, and the air was thick with the scent of honeysuckle. It was in this sunlit, carefree world that a shadow crept silently, spreading unease among the townsfolk. The children of Maplewood had their usual summer haunts, the cool embrace of the swimming hole, the ancient oak tree perfect for climbing, and the forgotten trails winding through the woods. It was in these woods that young Tommy Harper first felt the pull of something strange and otherworldly. He was a curious boy, always eager to explore the mysteries hidden beneath the canopy of leaves. Tommy was the kind of kid who saw the world differently. Where others saw trees, he saw enchanted forests, and where others saw shadows, he saw the outlines of adventure. One afternoon, as the sun began to dip behind the hills, Tommy told his friends about a hidden path he had discovered, one that twisted deeper into the woods, past the boundaries of where even the bravest dared to tread. They weren't supposed to go there, the adults said. It was too far, too wild. But the allure of the unknown was irresistible. So, with a mischievous grin and the promise of a grand adventure, Tommy led his friends into the depths of the forest. The path wound tighter, the trees closing in around them like ancient sentinels. The air grew cooler, the light dimmer, and the usual sounds of the forest faded into an eerie silence. The friends felt the change, a prickling at the back of their necks, a whispering in the leaves that seemed to call out to them. As they ventured further, they stumbled upon a clearing, bathed in a strange, silvery light. In the center stood an old well, its stones covered in moss, its depths obscured by darkness. Tommy, ever the fearless leader, approached the well, peering into its shadowy abyss. "Come on, Tommy, let's go back," one of his friends urged, a tremor in their voice. But Tommy was entranced. There was something about the well, something that beckoned him closer, promising secrets and stories untold. He reached out, his fingers brushing against the cold, damp stones. And then, in the blink of an eye, he was gone. One moment there, the next, swallowed by the darkness. The clearing was empty, save for the echo of his friends' cries and the rustle of leaves in the wind. Panic-stricken, the children ran back to town, their shouts breaking the evening calm. The search parties were organized, the woods combed inch by inch, but Tommy was never found. The well, when revisited, held no trace of him, as if it had sealed its secrets tight. Maplewood was never the same after that summer. The laughter of children was tinged with caution, the woods a place of whispered warnings. And though the seasons changed and years passed, the story of Tommy Harper lingered like a ghostly echo, a chilling reminder of the mysteries that lay hidden just beyond the light. As the chill of autumn settled over the small town of Maplewood, the start of a new school year brought with it the usual mix of excitement and nerves. Freshman year was a rite of passage, and for many, the hallways of Maplewood High felt like the gateway to a new world. Among the sea of eager faces was Alex, a bright-eyed freshman ready to embrace the adventure. The first week went by in a blur of new faces, bustling hallways, and the endless chatter of classmates. Alex quickly found himself drawn to the stories whispered among students, tales of strange happenings and eerie occurrences that had shadowed the school for decades. The most chilling of all was the legend of the forgotten wing section of the school that had been sealed off years ago after a mysterious incident. Curiosity got the better of Alex. One afternoon, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the shadows stretched long, he decided to explore. With a few friends in tow, they slipped past the no-entry signs and crept down the dimly lit corridor leading to the forgotten wing. The air was thick with dust and the scent of abandonment, every creak of the floorboards echoing like distant whispers. As they ventured deeper, the group stumbled upon a door slightly ajar, its hinges rusted and worn. Inside, the room was filled with old desks and chairs stacked haphazardly, remnants of a time long past. But what caught Alex's attention was the faded mural on the wall depicting students from decades ago. Their painted eyes seemed to follow him, watching his every move. Suddenly, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang, plunging the room into darkness. Panic set in as they realized they were trapped. Alex's heart raced, and he fumbled for his phone to use as a flashlight. The beam of light revealed a figure standing in the corner, shrouded in shadows. Before they could react, the figure moved with unnatural speed, and in an instant, Alex was gone. His friends searched frantically, their calls echoing through the empty halls, but Alex had vanished without a trace. The legend of the Forgotten Wing had claimed another victim. As the days turned into weeks, the story of Alex's disappearance spread like wildfire through Maplewood. Students spoke in hushed tones, and the school year continued under a cloud of unease. The Forgotten Wing was sealed once more, its secrets locked away, leaving behind only whispers of what lurked within its shadowed halls. In the dimly lit kitchen of the old Harrington Manor, Henry had worked alone for years. The manor, now a shadow of its former glory, was known for its mysterious past and eerie tales whispered among the townsfolk. Henry, a dedicated cook, paid little mind to these stories, focusing solely on his culinary duties. But as the shadows grew longer and the nights colder, something began to change. Late one evening, while preparing a simple soup, Henry noticed the air grow thick and heavy. The usual comforting clatter of pots and pans seemed distant, almost muffled by an unseen force. He shrugged it off and continued chopping vegetables, but the knife slipped, slicing his finger. A few drops of blood splattered onto the cutting board, and in that moment, the kitchen lights flickered violently. Startled, Henry glanced around. The kitchen was empty, yet he felt a presence, an unsettling chill creeping up his spine. From the corner of his eye, he saw a shadow dart across the wall. His heart thumped loudly in his chest, but he forced himself to focus on his task, convincing himself it was just his imagination. As he stirred the pot, a soft whisper echoed through the room, calling his name. "Henry." The voice was faint, almost a breath, but unmistakable. He froze, the ladle slipping from his grasp and clattering onto the floor. The whispering continued, growing louder, more insistent. Driven by an inexplicable urge, Henry followed the sound to the pantry at the back of the kitchen. He hesitated at the threshold, the door creaking open as if inviting him in. The pantry was dark, shelves lined with dusty jars and forgotten spices. But at the far end, a faint glow emanated from behind a stack of crates. As he approached, the whispering intensified, swirling around him like a chorus of lost souls. He moved the crates aside, revealing a hidden door, its surface etched with strange, ancient symbols. Compelled by a force beyond his understanding, Henry pushed the door open, revealing a small chamber bathed in an eerie, pale light. Inside, an old, tarnished cauldron sat in the center, filled with a swirling, luminescent liquid. The whispers crescendoed, urging him to peer into its depths. As he looked, images began to form in the liquid faces of those who had worked in the manor before him, their expressions twisted in eternal anguish. Suddenly, a cold hand grasped his shoulder, and he spun around to face a spectral figure, its eyes hollow and voice a mere echo of the whispers. "Free us," it pleaded, its form flickering like a dying flame. "Release us from this curse." Understanding dawned on Henry. The manor held the souls of those who had toiled within its walls, trapped by a curse cast long ago. He realized his blood had awakened the spirits, binding him to the fate of the manor. Determined to break the cycle, he knew he must find a way to lift the curse and set the spirits free. With a newfound resolve, Henry set to work, searching for clues hidden in the manor's forgotten corners, piecing together the mystery of its dark past. As the whispers guided him, he vowed to release the souls, even if it meant confronting the darkness that shrouded Harrington Manor. On a chilly October night, the wind whispered through the ancient trees of Ravenwood Forest. Beneath their twisted branches, a young couple, Emma and Jake, ventured deeper into the woods, lured by tales of a mysterious cabin said to appear only when the moon was full. As they walked, the forest seemed to come alive with unsettling sounds, leaves rustling like whispers, branches creaking as if to warn them. They dismissed the unease building in their chests, attributing it to mere superstition. But the air grew colder, and an eerie fog began to snake around their ankles, thickening with each step. Suddenly, the moonlight revealed the silhouette of a cabin, perched ominously at the end of a narrow path. Its windows were dark, and the wooden door hung slightly ajar, groaning softly as it swayed in the breeze. Drawn by an inexplicable force, Emma and Jake approached, their footsteps crunching on the frost-kissed leaves. Inside, the cabin was eerily silent, save for the faint ticking of a grandfather clock standing in the corner. Dust coated every surface, and cobwebs draped the walls like ghostly veils. As they explored, a chill swept through the room, and the door slammed shut with a deafening thud. Panic surged through them as they realized they were not alone. A shadow moved in the corner of Emma's eye, and a low, mournful wail echoed through the cabin. Jake grasped her hand, and they stumbled backward, their breath visible in the freezing air. The wail grew louder, a chorus of voices, each one telling tales of despair and loss. The walls seemed to pulse and breathe, closing in on them. Desperate to escape, they turned to the door, but it refused to budge. Frantic, Jake pounded against it, but it was as if the cabin itself had become a sentient creature, intent on keeping them within its grasp. Emma's eyes darted around the room, landing on a dusty mirror in the corner. The glass shimmered, revealing not their reflections, but scenes of those who had come before, trapped souls pleading for release. In a final act of desperation, Emma reached for the mirror, her fingers brushing the cold surface. The wailing ceased, and the room fell into an unsettling silence. The door creaked open slowly, as if granting them mercy. Without a second thought, they fled into the night, the forest closing behind them. As they emerged into the moonlit clearing, the cabin vanished, leaving only the rustling leaves and the distant call of an owl. Emma and Jake never spoke of that night, but they knew one thing for certain. Some places are best left undisturbed, and some secrets are meant to remain buried within the shadows of Ravenwood Forest.